Hello and welcome to Assertiveness, the show that gives ordinary South Africans the space to talk about things that really matter. My name is Nicolette Wagamashile. Only 5% of CEOs in Africa are women. This does not sit very well with me. It just does not make sense. 15 to 17% wage gap between men and women. Why? Is it because they are more educated? Is it because they've got better build than us? Is it because they can talk better than us? What is actually going on in our employment sectors where men are being favored to have higher salaries than women purely because they're a man? I mean, surely that it does not make sense. But unfortunately, that is what is happening, and it is perpetuated throughout the world. So it's not even it's not a uniquely South African issue, but there are certain instances where in South Africa, it seems like it is a little bit more heightened, or it happens quite often. We've got an over-representation of women in low-wage jobs. Why is that? I am joined in studio by Khao, Amkhelang, and Mandisa, and we're not even going to call it tackling this conversation. We're about to flatten it out and have a clear, straight-up talk about what is actually happening, why is this happening, and why does it keep happening? I mean, you go to university. What the same with guys, you funda together, you graduate together, you go into the job, and these men just seem to be progressing better than you in terms of salary. They might not have been progressing better than you in terms of career, but in terms of salary, they're making more money. They're driving better cars. Okay, sometimes they make stupid decisions, but it's okay. But they just seem to be getting more money. Why is that conversation? That's what we're going to talk a little about. But let's talk, Khao. Who is Khao? What does Khao do? Where is Khao from?
Awesome. So Khao is a journalist. I also am a black radical feminist. I'm originally from the Northwest.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And when you talk about being a journalist, in which space are you in? What type of journalism are you doing? Yeah.
So I work for Jacaranda FM, which is a music station. So in terms of journalism, I don't specialize, meaning I do any story from any angle, any story. So I don't specialize in any. So yeah.
I hate to be a journalist. I just, it's a fascinating job, but it looks like probably one of the hardest jobs because you literally are chasing stories. You gotta write those stories in the most represented manner for everybody, and then some of those stories really would upset me. Like I was listening to the story of, we didn't really get the gist of it. The police and the house where there was a dead body and they were being attacked by Nigerians, and the way it was laid out, it's like they were attacked by men, they were attacked by Nigerians, and now does that then not push out the xenophobic thing to say, now as South Africans we're like, my father is a police, my uncle is a police, and police are not being attacked by Nigerians, you know what I mean? So it's one of those things I'm just like, you know what, I wouldn't do journalism. But welcome to the show. I was Amkhelang.
Hi, I'm Amal, obviously, and I too am a journalist just like Khao. At Jacaranda FM, junior journalist, budding journalist, just graduated.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And essentially I'm a feminist. I am all for women, I'm all for marginalized people, and I suppose that's why I'm here, to discuss issues that matter.
Awesome. Where are you from?
I am from Pretoria originally, born and bred. I've spent my whole life in Pretoria.
And la Pretoria was ngaban? Une street cred?
No.
Sure. Sure. Or you just don't know what they know you for?
I think mostly my life has been centered on just being a feminist, and that's also because of my background. I was largely raised by women, so that has informed the type of person I've become, and I assume that's what people know me for.
Okay. Do you watch sports?
Not a lot of sports.
No
really.
sports.
No.
So what unites you as uniquely South African? Because most of us are united by Bafana Bafana losing, but they won last week, so that's great. The Springboks winning, and we all rally behind them. What makes you feel when you're around other people? You're like, I'm really South African.
Just by virtue of being born in South Africa, I feel like I belong here. It's just a matter of belonging and a matter of feeling at home. Nothing particularly South African, because I think that's also a construct. I'm here. I'm in South Africa. I happen to be a South African national, and that's really what it is. Nothing deeper than that.
Awesome. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Mandisa.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. Mandisa Kanyile here.
Mandisa Kanyile. Who is Mandisa Kanyile?
Mandisa Kanyile is the co-founder of .afro. It's an Afrocentric social network. Basically, our focus is on blackness and on black people.
Right.
We're the first of our kind in Africa. So we recently launched, we're still in beta test phase. I'm also a black radical feminist as well.
Okay. So I'm sitting amongst feminists. Sometimes I'm just like, I get so scared when I sit in feminists because I'm like, I'm about to say something wrong and they're going to chow me down. Right. So what, do you have children?
I have a son.
You have a son. And how are you raising him to fit into, you know, what you're promoting and what you're creating awareness around and what you basically are fighting for?
I have a very big belief in raising genderless children.
Okay.
So I don't raise my son to conform to gender stereotypes.
Nice.
He wants to be a fairy when he grows up. That's his current dream, and I'm supporting that.
Fairy Joe.
Obsessing on my fairies and guy. You have no idea
Fairy Joe.
how many times I have to watch Winx Club a day.
Okay, like this is it. This is where I want to be.
Male fairies. I mean, anyone who's ever watched Peter Pan is a male fairy. There's male fairies in the stories of Tinkerbell, etc. But people have that focus of it's not the most masculine thing to be. And he's like, I'm doing my fairy business, you guys. When I get my wings, you don't understand.
Oh, that is amazing. He's going to graduate and get his fairies. That's all we care about right now. Okay, he's getting his fairies. But let's talk a little bit about 5% of CEOs in the entire Africa. And when we talk about Africa, we're talking about a large continent. I mean, it might not be the largest, but it's a huge continent. It's got its own issues, and I mean, we've been seen as the dark continent of the world. But does that sound right? Does that narrative of 5% only, CEOs are women?
Can I just tackle that one a little bit? My background prior to .afro was actually in recruitment. So
okay. You'll tell us why we're not getting these salaries.
No, women are seen as liabilities mainly because of maternity leave and family responsibility. The thing about us is that we're going to, at some point, if we do decide to get broody, we're going to take time off of work which the company needs to pay for us to go and make nice with our families. Then once we've had these children and taken the 6-month maternity leave and come back, we need to firstly be caught up with everybody else, and once that happens, when the child gets sick, guess who needs to go and take family responsibility leave in order to attend to the children? This is how the work environment actually justifies paying us less, because we're seen as a liability to the work environment because of the amount of future time off they think we're going to be taking for childbearing. That's just a starter.
Just to add to what Mandisa said, so what speaks to that is the fact that work has always been seen as something masculine and for men. So around the whole world, work has been seen as something that men should do. That's why they are called providers. That's why our many corporates are very masculine environments. Do you get what I mean? So that's what informs
corporate terms, chairman.
Yeah, exactly. And what happens is when women get into that space, you're also getting into a masculine space, which makes it hard for you to actually succeed. And the idea, what Mandisa was saying, the idea that children are looked after by women and men get 3 days. I know I have a colleague who had 3 days paternity leave. Like, why? Because he's a man? You get what I mean? So this gender roles that are played out also are played out in the workplace, and it actually informs the whole society as well. So that's, for me, that's where it comes from. Yeah.
So before even tackling the conversation of the gender or the wage gap, between the two genders, we need to tackle the idea of gender roles within the workspace. Because I find sometimes that when I was working, so I've left the workspace, thank goodness, because I found that you walk in, there's a meeting that's about to happen, maybe you've invited other guests, everybody's looking to you to go make coffee for this person, or to offer coffee, or to even at like year ends. Everybody knows it's supposed to be a year end, but it's like they expect the woman to plan this year end. And you're like, but like, how does this work out? I don't know if there are any, gender roles in your specific workplaces.
I mean, with me, it's very interesting that you pointing this out in particular, because I work in broadcasting, so radio is where mainly my journalism is propelled, and we have obviously award shows, and there was a conference that was held where the panelists, so like a panel like this, none of the representatives there were women. And obviously very alarmed, I ask essentially, why are these veteran male broadcasters only? What does this say about women broadcasters in the industry that I work in? And essentially the answer I got very rudimentary. In radio, women's voices tend to be a little bit more squeakier, and a lot of listeners don't get this. And I was very alarmed at the fact that where is the statistics, the facts? How are we making such assumptions about the legitimacy of workplaces where women are in? And I feel particularly marginalized in this situation because I'm a woman myself in the broadcasting industry. So the perceptions of women and their outlook on essentially who owns the media, who owns these spaces, who owns these corporates, who makes these rules, that's what we should be questioning, because women are there, women are working, women are managers, and we see them all the time. It has nothing to do with, these statistics that we do here. They're very superficial in the sense that they don't dig deeper into the societal norms and the corporates that we see ourselves in. So essentially, we need to probe that further.
Yeah, and I think it's easy for people to just say, traditionally, historically, this is what used to happen. And they talk about statistics that you're just like, okay, show me where these statistics are. But we're going to go for a quick ad break. When we come back, I want to tackle that conversation to say, also, you talk about who owns these spaces. But when there is an ownership situation and then there is you've been put in a leadership role to be these people, we still as women then go out and perpetuate exactly what we are fighting against. Remember that you can join our conversation using the hashtag assertiveness. Please don't go anywhere.